Yeah. That's helpful. Mm. So, when you look in the direction of experience, you find thoughts and memories, images, sense perceptions. They're constantly moving, changing. It's sometimes seemingly impossible to make sense out of all that which appears. You look out and it's daylight. And then you blink your eyes and it's nighttime. At one moment, the body is a young 20-year-old body. And in a blink of an eye, it's a totally different scene. You wonder what's happening. What is it all about? What can I hold on to? And whatever you find that you can hold on to, as you're holding on to it, it shifts, it morphs, it dissolves in your hands. If you're holding on to an image, it appears in a certain way today and a totally different way tomorrow. If you hold on to an experience, so quickly it becomes a memory. So you find yourself more and more holding on to nothing. you realize that there is nothing that's so solid that you can hold on to it. And then you take a look at what is it that is holding on? What is it that is looking for something, for some security, for some safety in the world? And you also don't find anything there. There is no one there. So you find yourself in this place of being, being not knowing. Which is a space of awareness where a thought can appear in the space without any real significance, like a ripple on the surface of the pond. And more, you lose your sense of limitation and individuality. It seems a bit disorienting at times as we are habituated to define ourselves in specific ways. We're habituated to have our bases well set in place, like pillars that somehow define us, a certain structure. And initially, to be structureless may appear as some sort of loss or disorientation. And in time, it becomes clear that it's in fact a freedom from structures and the way reality is cannot be formulated, cannot be pinned down. At times we like to know which direction we are heading to. We would like to have a certain purpose, a certain meaning, a phenomenal meaning, a meaning that's somehow presents itself as a goal. But where are we going? Where, where are you heading? Where am I heading? And what is this I that does not seem to be satisfied without having some sort of goal or objective? What is it that we fear losing? Isn't it true that everything that appears to us is immediately lost as it appears? It's lost. Every thought, every perception, every experience, every memory. A stream of thought, a stream of sensations. Is there somebody in the background lurking? What is the significance of this moment being whole and complete? What makes it so? When you are reading a novel, you are looking at the scribbles on the blank page, and those scribbles on the blank page translate into images. and thoughts, but they are just scribbles on a blank page. Sounds, waves, dots. Understanding these scribbles is perceiving the scribbles and perceiving the images and the sounds. Although scribbles are somehow translated into meaning, there is the perception of the meaning. There is understanding. And this understanding is completely open. It's that same understanding that perceives the sunshine. It hears the songs of the birds, the heartbeat, the warmth of the body. It's always open, always available. No gates, no doors, no windows, no borders to that, to understanding. And sensations within the body appear within this understanding. Images, memories, feelings appear instantaneously because there are no gates, no borders, which is your ongoing experience. Your ongoing experience is this openness, this borderless understanding, this effortless understanding. There is no effort in that. There's no effort in being. There is no personal efforting. That is how love is. Effortless beingness. Which is your living experience, your lived experience. Although you seem to love your mother, your father, your son, your daughter, although it seems that love is directed in a certain direction, it is actually shining in your being in all directions. It just so happens that from the perspective of the limited mind, the body-mind's perception is limited. The instrument is limited. But the love that shines through us is limitless. So yes, we do love our mother, our father, our son, our daughter. But this love is universal. Yes, it is true that we love the smell of the roses that are growing in our rose garden. But our love for the smell of the rose is universal. That which we love is formless, and the love with which we love is formless. Thank goodness for that. Beyond the limitations of form, beyond the limitations of preference. All the colors, the millions of colors, the various shades of color, their substance is the white color of light, the colorless color. Out of that colorless color, infinite colors appear. It is the emptiness dancing. The dance of the emptiness is the form, what we refer to as my life is your dance, the dance of emptiness. Look at how the wind blows in all possible directions, unconcerned about blowing in a particular direction. Can we get our inspiration from the wind? Well, any questions? Anything you would like to explore?
Hi, Magdi.
Hello, Marga.
I'm not quite sure how to ask the question. When I come in the meditations, I get almost, it's a very woozy sort of place. It's very wordless and woozy. And it's like the words that you say are so poetic because it's like a place where linear language is not not pointing there. It's the way you talked about all the colors, and it's deeper during the meditation. I don't that's a qualification, which I don't mean that, but there's something about the way you put words together that has been different for all my years of meditation. And so, but all day long, I'm doing the back and forth of coming back, coming back. But there's this narrator voice that I'm becoming so conscious of. It's almost like a very long novel that's being written about this person. And it's not suffering, but it's not real. And it's just so constant. I can stop it on will when I hear it, but it's just such a narrator, almost like a voiceover of a movie, and it's writing the story. So sometimes I'm just wondering, like, it's almost like clockwork. If I come here, I'm going to get to that point where there's no words and I'm not processing your words in the same manner of comprehension. It's a good space. And then I can stop that narrator, but I'm just trying to understand the day-to-day coming back and how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, it's not a very formulated question, but
I get it.
Okay.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meditation, that narrator is as if it's anesthetized. Is that the right word? Anesthetic. And so you find yourself narrator free. You find yourself that to which the narrator may appear or not. You find yourself as that, which is neither the narrator nor the narration, the narrative nor the narrative. So you soak, you get a taste of being narrator and narrative free, which is peace and causeless beingness, freedom, happiness, whatever. There are no true words that can speak of that. Now, as you say, in our common way of perceiving, thinking, there are, of course, images and perceptions and sounds, which are just shapes and colors and forms, like the wind, like various songs of birds, like the sound of traffic. But there is also something else, which is the sense of latent annoyance or a latent dissatisfaction or some sort of unhappy hum in the background that we got so used to it that we operate as if from it without even noticing that's where we are operating from. So, which is the sense of me, the sense of being located. It's a mental and a feeling. It's both mental and somatic. Mental location, imaging oneself in relation to this and that, and feeling, sensing somatically that I'm here, sort of here, as a body sitting in a chair, I'm in the room, whatever. There's this feeling level, a sense level of location, a form of location, objective location. So there is the impression, subtle impression of being somebody in time and space. And that sense of being somebody, we are habituated to it. But it's the base level, the ground level of emotion. And there are circumstances in our life where all is well, waking up, doing the chores, tending to this, tending to that. The day goes by, seemingly all is well. Seemingly. Why am I saying seemingly? Because that same day, it could be that somebody disappoints us and we get into the negative emotion. Something doesn't work out as we assumed it would, and we get upset, or our partner does something, we get jealous, we get angry, we get envious, etc. Defensive, aggressive, whatever. So the negative emotion can, from the base level of the emotion, there could be smaller vibrations, but every now and then there may be an eruption. And usually in the depth of identification, in the depth of ignorance, in the depth of autolocation, when there is an eruption, then it can sometimes go on for many hours, even sometimes for a few days. And it can then calm down, can sort of make its way back down to the base level of emotion, and the rest a little bit, and then something else will trigger again a negative emotion. So in the depth, in the heart of ignorance, we are on thin ground to start with, which is the me feeling. And then from there on, it goes downhill as life presents itself to us. But behind all of that, as a way of speaking, it's not really behind, but as a way of speaking, behind all of that, there is the peace. So when we come into the meditation, or into the satsang, or into our own contemplation in our life, we visit, and sometimes we hang out there for a while, into the peace that defies all impressions, that bypasses all impressions. Now the me feeling is the ground from which the negative emotions arise. And of course, we all notice the negative emotions and we deal with them. We see our therapist, or we leave our partner, or we explode, whatever. We all know the negative emotions, and we deal with them whichever way we can. We can have a couple of drinks, you know. But what we overlook is the base of the negative emotions, which is the sense of being somebody, of being somebody, believing and perceiving that I am a person, and feeling that here I am. Yes, I am. I feel here I am sitting on it. Here I am. I am here, and I feel it. I sense it. Here I am. See that sense. So we, in the non-dual teaching, we take a look at that. We take a look at not whether there are feelings or perceptions, because there are feelings of perception, feelings and perceptions. Otherwise, the human body would be a rock. Maybe even a rock has feelings. I don't know. But we take a look at whether I, the sense of me, the sense of I, is located in the body or in the mind. We take a look at that. When we take a look at that, we find that the body appears to I. I perceive the body. I perceive an image of Marga. So Marga, the image, the person, the memory, whatever, the woman, the child, appears to I, which leads us to the understanding that I do not appear in the sensation. I do not appear in the image. So the location of I remains unknown. But the location of the body, meaning the sensation or the image, is known. It's appearing within I, to I. Now, then the next questions which arise, which is, well, fine, I am not located in the body, I am not located in the sensation, I'm not located in the thought. But this does not mean that I am not the thought, or I am not the perception, or I am not the sensation. It's possible that although I do not appear inside the thought, rather the thought appears inside of me, which we already are clear about that, it still could be that I and the thought are one, that I am the thought, that I and the thought are one. So we take a look at that and we say, okay, it's worth looking at it. When we look at where is the image or the sensation, we find that it's true, in fact, the image or the sensation is not separate from I. If it was separate from I would not perceive it. Because separation means two, means separation. Separation means separate. But the fact that I perceive this image or I perceive a sensation implies that there is some sort of connection. It's not separate. So I say, okay, true. I am not separate from the thought or from the sensation, meaning from the body. I'm not separate from the body. All right? Does it mean that I am the body? Then we take a look at that. The way we look at that is we say, well, what is the body? We already have determined the body is an appearance that appears to us as sensation and thought. But it keeps changing. The thought keeps changing, the image keeps changing, the body sensation keeps changing. The perception, you take a picture of the body, every day if you take a picture of the body, you will notice some difference. The hair is growing, your nails are growing, etc. You have to look closely. So you say, interesting. If I am the body is changing. If I am the world, which I perceive the world, not separate from the world is changing. Am I changing? So I take a look at that, because if the body and the world are changing and I am changing, then it's more likely that we are the same, one and the same. So we look at, am I changing? We have established that the body is changing, the sensations are changing, the images are changing, the thoughts are changing. Then I ask myself, am I changing? So then we take a look at that. Without defining I as the body, we just go to I, say, well, I, what is I? without pre-defining I as a woman, a man, a son, a daughter, without pre-assumption. I exist right now. What is I right now? That's when we come upon the formless awareness. It's the same I that perceives this perception right now, and the same I that perceived or heard the words that we were speaking 2 minutes ago. There is an aspect of our experience which is changeless. So then we realize there is an important, a very noticeable difference between the world, body, mind, meaning, sensations, thoughts, perceptions, and I. Although they're not separate, one is constant and the other is moving. How could it be? How could it be? How could it be that one is beyond movement, beyond form, and the other is movement and form? There cannot be two realities, two different realities as one. How could it be? And we take a look at, for example, at the dream, at our night dream. We realize in our night dream, there is that which is changeless and that which is constantly changing. Without understanding that I am dreaming, that there is a dreaming going on, all I experience is change. All sorts of things are happening in the night dream. People coming and going and all sorts of things happening. Until I wake up, then I realize, these were movements, some sort of movements within myself. While I was not moving, while nothing was happening, there was all these movements within myself. I look at the metaphor of the ocean. One ocean. But how there are these currents within the ocean. One reality, there are these currents within this one reality. What are these currents? To whom are they appearing? Obviously, something is appearing right now. To whom is it appearing? Well, it can only be appearing to that one reality. The ocean is currenting. The ocean is currenting, is waving to itself, out of itself to itself. The wide open sky, which is colorless, manifests in so many different forms, and clouds and galaxies, and out of itself, to whom and to what is all this appearing? We go to our direct experience. All appearances appear to I awareness. And all appearances are not separate from I awareness. They are my own beingness, my own awareness, dancing, waving, flowing from itself to itself. Nothing is actually at stake. You can move your arm like this or like that, or move your fingers like this and like that. There's nothing at stake. You could hold this mudra or that mudra or this mudra or this mudra. Nothing is at stake. Any movement, any flow, nothing's at stake. Because it's a movement within yourself, out of yourself, to yourself. It's your joy of expression, your creativity. So the world, body, mind is nothing else but the dance of consciousness from itself to itself. out of itself. And it celebrates itself in so many ingenious ways. It celebrates itself as a snail, as a turtle, as a bird, as Magdi, as Marga, as sounds, as infinite forms beyond what this human mind is capable of perceiving. In fact, what we perceived 200 years ago and what we perceive now are huge difference in what we knew 200 years ago. 200 years ago, nothing. And what we know now, but vaster than vast. So there is an understanding that is the magnificent understanding about reality, about consciousness, about manifestation, about the world, about the body, about the mind, about thoughts, about awareness. Because it's all awareness, it's all consciousness. The night dream, all the characters that appear in the night dream are not separate from the dreamer. It's understanding. Within this understanding, there is we don't discover a separate reality. We don't discover reality A, B, and C, and D. We come to an understanding of the wholeness where we realize that this very mind, these very thoughts, this very perception and consciousness is so intimately connected. It's like connected like water and wetness. It's like connected like fire and heat. Can you remove heat out of fire? It's more than connected. It's non-dual. Can you imagine that in the absolutest sense, in the most real sense possible, I am you and you are I, although of course these words are so small, so petty, but their meaning is amazing. That in fact, we're not apart in any possible way you can imagine. You cannot separate us. We're inseparable. Can you imagine? We're inseparable. It's like I'm your son and daughter, and you're my son and daughter at the same instant of time. We are that understanding that there is no separation ever. There never was and never will be separation. It's not irrespective of the belief in separation, the sense of separation. Once you come upon this understanding and you establish yourself in that understanding, because it's not a new belief. It's not like, oh, let's adopt a new belief, the belief of oneness, to sort of go with the reasoning, and then at your feeling level, within your feeling state, notice that there are no barriers anywhere. All the walls of separation in your feeling state are imaginary. All the habits, me and the fear, me and this emotion, me and her, me and him, me and that. Imaginary separations that they have no ground to stand on. So the key thing is that belief and the feeling that comes with it, that I am a person, I'm a woman, a person, a mother, a daughter. You are not that. A mother appears to you, a daughter appears to you, a thought appears to you. You are a formless self. That's what these appearances are rising to you, out of what else? Out of where else would they appear? Out of, there is a big emitter out there somewhere, a thought galaxy out in the distant galaxies that is emitting. Let's send thought A to destiny Margosh, destiny Magdi. It's all right there, right here, right now. Arises out of the only reality there is. The only reality there is consciousness, awareness. Doesn't matter what you call it. And to rest in this understanding, to invite your body, mind, to invite every cell of your body, in every part of your body, because you can explore all of that. It's available to you. You invite every cell of your body to align itself with this understanding. To say yes, I'm okay. I get it. I don't need to make a separate stand. I don't need to rally all my buddies and build a fort.
It's very beautiful. Thank you. It's a great relief.
Yes.
Yeah. And it occurs to me, like, when I'm aware of the storyteller, it's okay to.
You know what?
No.
We have open doors. They're welcome to come in because the rear door is open too, Front door, rear door. We are not too interested in serving tea and cookies to illusions. They arise, they appear, and they disappear. We're not going to serve them a nice meal and put on our best dress or suit and entertain them.
Give them a room to rent. No. Thank you so much.
Okay, Marga. Okay, beautiful. Nice chatting with you. Any questions? Okay. All right, well, Thank you all. Very lovely to be with you.
Magdi.
Shiva.
Dis pas au revoir.
Salut Shiva.
Hi. I'm stopping you from like disconnecting here.
Okay.
It's not really, hang on, where's the video?
Okay.
I'm actually in the middle of something here. I am.
Yes.
Okay, see my face.
Okay.
Happy face, smiley face. Good to see you. Thank you. So now I'm just going to do stream of consciousness because it's not really like a question in any way, but you know that shit is hitting the fan right now. Rubber meets the road. The dance that consciously plays is at this, or seemingly is presenting worldwide, is very, very dark. Individually, there's lots of practical issues and you know, body, apartment, the whole general life situations up and about. I'm just saying that for the Sangha to share that. And we had this conversation about and you actually, it's sort of coming right out of what you discussed with Magda, is that at some point you were saying there is no separation between what appears and whatever the entity we might call, you know, consciousness, God, whatever it is, which is viewing the dance from sort of above or beyond, or being in it in the same time. So there's no separation. And we're coming back over and over again to the sort of like ping pong game we have been playing over the last couple of months, where, you know, from a position of like complete contentment, you were saying, oh, there is the if it wouldn't be for the suffering, and then when this one is in a sort of like apparent suffering, you're bringing back the fact that all is one, and that we are in this, you know, in the oneness of the experience. And it's quite literally, there is no separation. I can detect at this point the intensity of the emotions arising, both in the so-called good department of like random act of kindness and love, which you know, make me cry to a point that, so that's how much I'm touched in the or the feeling of love is received in all its beauty and its power, and simultaneously the crass, you know, behaviors of whatever I mean, we can pick anything at this point. Israeli Palestinians, we can pick world leaders, we can pick manipulation, we can pick people dying of hunger while other people accumulate billions of dollars in one day. I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on. So why am I saying all this? It feels sometimes like, you know, it feels like the tool has been taken away, which I practiced so diligently for the last 10 years of this, like, oh, something is appearing. And then as Magda says, oh, I'm just not giving it a room to rent. You know what I mean? Oh, this is like some form of illusion or whatever. I see my own negative thought. I see my own resistance. All I need to do is to go back to what is, right? And then what is pitch black, negative, whatever the mind might call it. It's not a feeling of happy contentment. Oh, I took the vaccine, everything's fine. It's not happening. You know what I mean? It's like there is an animal instinct of like the zebra feels before the lion pounces, that kind of thing, which is, and you know, just as an example, or as another example, this amazing feeling of love and connection when love and connection is present, but it doesn't seem anymore like, oh, whoever Shiva is has still the ability to say, oh, it's all unreal, or, you know, I'm just the observer. I'm sitting on a chair next to myself and I see everything appearing and disappearing. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, I'll be thankful.
What you are saying, I mean, resonates 100%. So there is no position that really is valid, because all positions, they come from the mind. I mean,
Right.
take the position of, well, it's all a dream, it's all illusion, or whatever position you take, that, just what you're describing is order and disorder together. You're sort of describing there is all sorts of things happening, and there is no position that can hold the ground.
Right.
And what's wrong with that? If in fact there is no position that is tenable or possible, then what is wrong with that? Well, if I want a position, when I want a position, and I look around and I say, well, there is no tenable position, well, then there is something wrong. Because heck, where is the freaking position that would where I could sort of plant something, even if I can plant it, for a week, for a day, for whatever. So you see, there is sort of an acceptance and a resistance. The acceptance comes from the understanding that, wait a minute, it's all mind. The position, the Advaitic position, that position, this position, what worked last year, what worked 20 years ago, all the therapies, all of these, none of them is tenable. But there's something else that is saying, well, give me something to hold on to. Give me something to hold on to. Well, what do you want?
Right. So you're basically saying that's sort of like an old Advaita theme of saying that the suffering that we experience comes through our own experience. I mean, through our own resisting the experience, basically.
No, I'm being very specific. I don't want to make Advaitic statements. I'm just saying, okay, I'm hearing you saying that there is no position that's all the old positions that used to work. The method
don't work. Yeah.
Nothing seems to be working.
No. Mm-hmm.
And so then I'm like, okay, if I hear you, so what's the problem? Well, then I'm projecting that, maybe the problem is that I want something that would work. And so then my question is, what is it that you want? Because it's you. I mean, I'm not speaking Advaitic or anything like that. I'm speaking Magdi with Shiva.
Right, but you don't want any kind of like practical answers, like a nice place to live, the freedom to travel, or anything like that. I mean, that doesn't really make any sense as an answer.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because it could be that that's what you want. And I'm not saying good or bad. It's non-judgmental.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, what is it? I mean, so if that's what it is, then you don't need any position. You just need to apply whatever capacities you have within the limitation of the freaking world to move in that direction, and it will go where it will go.
Right. Now the thing
and that's not psychological. That example you gave me, for example, a room, a house, that's strictly practical.
Right.
And it has its valid place if it arises within you. Then it has its valid place because it's arising to you and it's telling you, well, that's what I want.
Right. I throughout my entire life, and who knows, now this is a story, I guess, but there's always been an issue with wanting things, like in the sense of, like, it's not that there wasn't a lot of plenty of moments where there was wanting happening, but I could never really define who it was who wanted something. So it's like, I just brought up this like freedom to travel kind of thing as an example of what the mind could conceive of it wanting, right? And I see this whole thing going on right now in this mad dance, which is presenting itself in my life, of like wanting to have some form of security or safety. Meanwhile, everything which happens under the mantle of safety and security. So the worst abuse and the manipulation is happening exactly for that. And life is maybe showing me there is no safety other than consciousness. You know what I mean? So maybe life is just prepping me for like the ultimate experience of saying, hey, even dying is no big deal because you are consciousness and you cannot die. I don't know if I'm going off in a tangent there, but you know what I'm referring to? It becomes kind of more and more difficult to really define wanting. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm losing my marbles really in a big way.
One could say that the apple that's attached to the tree, that it wants to ripen and detach itself from the tree. At the same time, one could say that the apple doesn't want anything, and yet it is freaking ripening, and it's moving.
And it doesn't want to fucking fall. Excuse my language.
Time it will.
I know this is exactly how it feels, I guess.
It's interesting because you know,
man,
we project a want. We obviously don't project a wanting onto the apple, but we do project a wanting onto the body mind.
Right.
And because the apple doesn't have a sense of itself, it's not having an apple wanting. There is no apple wanting, but at the human level, there is a human wanting, which is the projection of human personal consciousness onto this form. The apple doesn't do that. Well, maybe it does that I'm not aware of, but yeah. So in terms of the wanting, it's very interesting because on one hand, yes, there is that wanting, which is a process of personal identity, because this body mind in a way is like an apple, and it's ripening because it exists. The apple exists on the tree and it's ripening no matter what it does. Similarly, the body mind is ripening no matter what it does, but the wanting has a different quality to it, which in a way it's puzzling you, and it's on good grounds, because any intelligence will eventually start to question this fictitious wanting.
Right.
I mean, not that, which is very different from the needs of the body, like the need of the apple. It needs sunshine and rain, whatever, Similarly, for the body mind, there are those needs, and it may rain in the apple orchard, or it may not rain. We don't know.
Right.
And for the body mind also, it may rain or it may not rain. We don't know. But what we understand is that it's one process. It's like the apple and the tree and the root system and the mycelium system and the whole fungi system on the whole planet. We understand, as our capacity of understanding, we have an understanding that's way beyond this personal identity. We have an understanding that transcends the personal identity, that enlightens. That's an enlightened understanding, and from that enlightened understanding, let's say that there is still the old system and the understanding, which is not a system. Understanding is not a system. They sort of, the old model still wants to grind on something, wants to crunch on something.
Right.
The understanding is nothing that you can crunch on.
Right. Which leaves you with the system going havoc at this point, I guess. The old system, I mean, it's just like, wow.
The system, the identity system is on havoc from day one. It's
yeah, no, but I mean, right now it's just sort of like imploding, exploding, like deteriorating, self-destructing. It's just, it's unbelievable. And I mean, I'm not saying that is automatically a negative thing, but it's sort of like, you know, when you open the balloon and you let the air out, the balloon goes crazy in the room before it finally stops, you know. And
as we were talking before with Marga about that, the negative emotions, whichever form they take, whichever way we label them, they arise from the me story, the sense of me. And we are on a seeming journey of appearances and events and crazy things happening in the world, body, mind, but we're also on the journey of understanding. And the understanding about suffering is primordial. It is primordial. Not like some sort of Band-Aid slogan about suffering is illusion, you suffer because blah, blah, blah. No, the understanding about the identification process, the localization process, localizing myself in the moment as something, as somebody, as a form. That kind of contemplation can accompany, and at some point it cannot leave you anymore, but it can accompany, it should accompany your life, irrespective of how the balloon that's, you know, because the balloon that's flying all over the place, no matter how loud it seems to be, it's still on the surface. There's still a vast potential of understanding that's available to you. And part of this understanding is the relaxation of the relaxation, the somatic relaxation, which is, I understand, may seem difficult at times, but that's where trust comes in, trusting that you're falling in God's arms, that you're falling, that God is never going to let you fall down.
No. And thank you for saying that. And just sort of also for the sake of the Sangha, I just want to say, it's not like I sleep like a baby. I still teach and amazing transmission happens. I have deep moments of contemplation. These intense moments, they come and then they go. They're not like, it's not like a mental thing where I continue to worry about, you know, XYZ politician or measures or whatever. It's not the thing. It's just like, boom, it's there and then it's gone. And it's there and it's gone. And but that is really full on, you know, there is no, when it's on, and there's nothing else. And there's no observer saying, oh, hey, baby, this is not a big deal because you are consciousness and whatever you experience is just coming and going. That's complete BS in that moment.
When you are in the canoe and you're in the rapids, you
are in the freaking rapids, and that is it. Period. You know. Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I remember when I was years ago doing that, and you know, there was no thought, and in an instant, I was down.
Right.
Took me a year to recover from my knee, but that's how it happened.
Poor knee, yeah. It's crazy. It's intense. Yeah, I know the hands of gods and your hands of God, and like, you know, is this sort of thing, the old operating system, and when it comes to practical things, and it's not that that's bad automatically, because on a practical level, yes, you need to do, if you look for an apartment, you have to go on Craigslist, you gotta interview people, you're not gonna look around, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, it's like, it's such a freaking drag right now on every possible level. And I see how all possible triggers are constantly pulled, you know. I mean, for the car to break down, and I'm driving in the morning for 3 hours, and I'm like, okay, the only thing which actually seems to work in my life is my car. And the freaking car explodes in front of my eyes, you know, virtually 3 hours later, where you're like, some freaking guardian angel is just going to have a blast. They're going to laugh their asses off, you know? It's like, how more direct can it be, you know? And then out of that come these amazing experiences where I'm like, confronted with levels I've never been. And I mean, you know, it must be right because I can still survive it, you know, and in a good way, you know, and learn from it. But it's one, I'm just really interested on the level of our purpose here without going into too much. I always go into lots of personal stories, obviously, but the whole thing of the observer being so absent in those moments was really intriguing me, you know, and I mean, I'm just going with your guidance and I'm like, okay, let it happen. Let it just happen. Thank you, Magdi.
You know, sometimes Francis used to talk about that there is sort of, it's hot on the outside and on the inside it's cool. That yes, there are rapids and cars exploding, all sorts of things happening, but there is it. Anyways,
I hear you.
Means now also sometimes some sages speak of, yes, all sorts of things happening and nothing is happening. Of course, they sound like slogans, but they're not. They're really, they speak to something,
yeah,
that deep down we know.
Yeah, I hear you. I guess it's full on transcending. It's all there is.
It's also like, there is a learning where we're no longer repeating the old. We're open to the new, whatever appears. In particular, we're not repeating ourselves, whichever way we define that. Best is not to define that. I forgot, somebody was sharing with me how they were having a really awful day, and they end up finding themselves at the some sort of store, in a store or a gas station, I don't know, some kind of store, and they had like really, they were having an awful day, and I don't know if it was the gas attendant or somebody who was serving them. They had like just a very brief, sweet exchange. And this person was sharing with me how they felt at that time that, oh, okay, that's what it was about, without a complete understanding about it. But this sweet moment, this brief, sweet moment, sweet exchange, there was a depth to it, and somehow it explained the whole day, the mystery of the day.
Yeah, no, 100%. Welcome to my life.
Okay,
merci Magdi, merci beaucoup. Hein.
Okay.
Merci.
To see you all, Trish and Grace and Pauline, Holger, thank you for your help. Holger, Marga, and Lauren and Frank. Okay, thank you all. Thank you all. Okay. Sweet.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay.
Thank you, Magdi.